Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of Franchise Entrepreneur. And today I would like to talk to you about the changes that you will go through personally and some of the skills that you're going to have to develop as your business grows from the one individual restaurant or store to multiple stores. Now, this is a subject that doesn't really get touched on that much from other podcasts that I've listened to or other comments that people have made online and on social media. A lot of people concentrate on how to scale a business, and indeed I've done a podcast on scaling your business and when's the right time and the things that you might need to do, but no one really talks about what that actually means to you personally and how you have to develop personally and maybe change some of your mindset, and also how you can develop some of the skills that you're going to need as well. This is a hugely important area, and that, like I said, is quite often overlooked. As you grow your business, you need to grow yourself as well. It's not just your business that evolves, you personally evolve some of your personal skills and abilities as much as the business operations need to develop. So let's just take an example from myself. So as an individual store operator, I was hands-on. I managed rotas, the suppliers, health and safety, customer service. I was front of house, I was back of house. I was at the coalface each and every day. Now, if you want to grow the business, you have to step away. You've got no choice. You've got to learn to delegate. So one of the things that you'll have to develop straight away is how to delegate. It may sound obvious, but you'll be surprised on how few people actually have got delegation skills, and when to delegate and how to delegate and who to delegate to. So you have to learn to leverage other people's time. You have to change your mindset from being a day-to-day practitioner to an orchestrator. Someone that strategizes, looks at the long term, develops a vision and what your business values are going to be. Now, this isn't as easy as it first appears and requires another huge leap of faith on your part, almost as terrifying as the initial leap you took to start the business in the first place. And remember how terrifying that was. This is equally, and certainly I found it equally as mind-blowing, because you're now making a conscious decision that baby that you've grown and developed, that you are now going to step away to develop not only yourself but to develop the business in the long term. And you're putting an awful lot of faith in other individuals. It involves trust in your employees, trust that your business can run day to day without you being in it and being that practitioner. If you don't already possess them, you will need to develop other skills, as well as a trust and faith that the people that you're leaving to operate your business can indeed operate them, and to also give them the opportunity to grow and make a few mistakes in order to help them develop your business. You'll need to develop your communication skills. It's all very well sitting back and developing a strategy, a vision, a mission statement, but if you can't communicate that to your staff and make them understand that vision, then it's worthless. You need to be able to delegate, give responsibility out to them, and also then step away. There's no point delegating, leveraging people's time, employing managers and then managing their jobs. You have to have the ability to be able to step away, and that can be quite hard when you've been so used to being the person at the coalface doing everything. It takes time, it takes discipline. It's another thing you need to learn. Discipline is a key element to this. That knee-jerk reaction to step into an email chain or to see something that's going wrong in the store and going directly to the staff as opposed to through your manager, that undermines them straight from day one. I mean, I've been doing this now for, this business concept now for 11 years. And I'm still reminded on a fairly regular basis from my management team to keep my nose out, which is difficult because, it is your baby and you are always looking to improve the business. And sometimes you see things that are not quite right, and the temptation is to jump in. And I'm a terrible person for doing that. Just this morning, I've been reminded of this in doing one of the appraisals for my operations director, and she reminded me quite rightly that I need to step away and allow her room to manage her operation without me interfering, but stepping in where maybe I should have gone direct to her as opposed to the managers. And that's the danger of being copied in on email chains. It's something that, again, I wrestle with on a daily basis, but it's something you're going to have to learn. You've got to build that discipline that you need to be able to step away and allow your managers to manage. You're going to need to build a more rounded understanding of sales and marketing, and that requires confidence as well, because it's not just about building new customers and things like that. It's also about how you sell your business if you want to raise finance, because effectively you're selling a vision, selling a concept to bank managers, to other methods of raising finance. They need to believe in what you're saying. So you need to be convincing, you need to have confidence. You'll be surprised at how many people are very, very good operationally, but put them in front of someone in order to sell something, and even if that's just explain what their business is about, they can't do it. You have to be able to develop these kind of personal skill sets. HR is another thing that you're going to need to know. It's not all about the ins and outs of compliance and things like that, but it's the interpersonal skills that you need. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of HR. You need to be able to sit down with your staff and be able to communicate with them, be personal with them, understand the issues that they might have, show empathy when you need to show empathy, and also to be able to identify what buttons you need to press in people. So the ability to be able to understand other people's personalities, to understand their weaknesses, identify their weaknesses, and be able to show ways in which you can help them develop, which in turn helps your business develop. If you don't understand your staff, if you cannot show any empathy, if you cannot identify weaknesses and strengths within your team, then you're going to have problems. So you need to be able to stand back and to be able to communicate and also identify all of these kind of skills as well. It's incredibly important. The bigger that you get, the more you develop these kind of interpersonal skills and be able to develop relationships, because you need to inspire staff. You need to be inspirational. You need to be able to motivate. So you need to be able to develop motivational skills. You need to be able to speak freely. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to develop strategies. You need to be able to articulate, have confidence, because you're also going to be doing things like networking. You're going to need to develop maybe your personal branding. And even if you're not very good in terms of the technical aspects of social media and things like that, you need to be able to know the message that you're trying to get across. You need to, maybe when you're doing videos, you need to be comfortable and confident in those, which is difficult. I'm only just learning some of these things myself. But these are all things that you need to develop personally that you've not had to consider when you were potentially only had one store. Because when you've got one store, one restaurant, you're at the coalface, you're dealing with firefighting, you're dealing with everyday needs of that business every day. You don't necessarily have time to be thinking about some of these other skills that you need to develop, because you're not thinking about maybe networking, you're not thinking about raising finance, you're not thinking about a big team, and therefore your HR skills are maybe not quite as developed. You don't need to speak necessarily in public, and therefore you're not having to concentrate on the confidence behind public speaking and things like that. You're not necessarily having to develop a strategy, because it's, when you first open, it's more about surviving and paying your bills, and that is your strategy. There's also another aspect that you shouldn't underestimate, and that is the fact that the bigger the business gets, the lonelier the road can be, because you are constantly thinking about your business, you're constantly delivering on all of these subjects that I've just covered. You are developing your own personal skills as well. It can be quite an insular sort of environment to be in, because more often than not your team is still small. You'll quite often be thinking about strategies and things like that yourself on your own. It can be a lonely road, so you need to develop or join like-minded groups. Social media is really good for that. You can join entrepreneur groups, networking groups, which enable you to mix with people in the same sort of environment as you, have experienced the same things as you, and you can share your experiences, offer advice, but more importantly, it gives you an outlet to express some of your concerns and some of your ideas and get their feedback as well, which helps you, because you can't always communicate this to your family, because your nearest and dearest may not actually even be that interested in business, or may not just be able to give you the kind of support that you need. So it's very, very important that you join some of these groups and help yourself to express some of your feelings and frustrations that you will experience on this road. So, I hope I'm covering some of the stuff that other people haven't necessarily spoken about, that this is more personal, about some of the things you need to consider and develop in your own personal skills that you may not have considered before. Certainly over the years, I've had to learn not just operational stuff, not from the point of view of being able to design menus, to designing stores, to planning permissions, to extraction canopies and the like, to building regs, health and safety, you name it. I've pretty much become I wouldn't say an expert, but certainly someone that has knowledge of every single probably aspect of the business. But what has been probably the hardest and the biggest learning curve is that next step of moving away from being that practitioner to being the orchestrator, to having the confidence in my team, to being able to develop my interpersonal skills, to being able to articulate my vision and my mission, and being able to motivate the team to be able to deliver, as well as, being able to be confident to speak to networking events, to doing a podcast, to doing social media, and to be able to articulate my business and my goals to a wider audience. This is what building your business is about. It's not just about the nuts and bolts, it's about all of this other stuff that goes around that you may not have considered, but is equally important. In fact, once you get to the point of this kind of growth, it becomes more important, because you've got a management team that will take care of the nuts and bolts, and it's your job to orchestrate it and develop it. And you can't do that if you don't have, or you don't develop some of these skills that I've just been talking about. So I hope that that's been useful to you. If it has, please do comment and join me again for next week's episode. And remember, don't let your reality get in the way of your dreams.